This may feel new to us in our time, but it's not new to humanity. The symbolic influence of Aries has deep, ancient roots, and this might be the most revealing connection of all. So from here, we move out of myth into biblical history. This is the era of the Old Testament, of early covenant stories and warrior kings and sacrifice. And within these stories, the ram appears again. Astrologers recognize what are called ages, and these are long periods of time that run about 2,000 years each. This is determined by the position of the sun at the spring equinox, and astronomers also observe this cycle. It's known as the axial precession. It's a slow shift in the Earth's axis that changes where the sun appears at the spring equinox over time. And because of that shift, the equinox moves through the constellations about every 2,000 years. Astrology takes that same cycle and gives it meaning, dividing it into ages, each one carrying its own themes, its own archetype. Astrologers call this the zodiac, and the age of Aries falls roughly between 2000 and 0 BCE. It was during this age of Aries, astrologically and astronomically, when many of the stories that we now recognize from biblical history and across other traditions like Egypt and Greece were beginning to take shape during the age of Aries. Around 2150 BCE, humanity transitions into the age of Aries, and we see this shift directly in the Bible, in the story of Abraham. This is where a new covenant begins. God chooses Abraham to start it all. In the book of Genesis, chapter 12, God tells Abraham, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." And Abraham goes, which already mirrors something important, a calling, a departure, and a journey into the unknown. Then later, after some time, God tests Abraham, and this is found in Genesis chapter 22, where Abraham is asked to sacrifice his son Isaac. So he takes him up a mountain and they build an altar together. And just as Abraham was about to sacrifice Isaac, God intervenes and instead provides a ram caught in a thicket as a substitute sacrifice in place of Isaac. This story has long been considered among biblical scholars as a foreshadow to God sending his only son Jesus as a sacrifice for humanity. Then we see that same pattern again with another biblical figure, Moses, and the origins of the Jewish tradition of Passover. This is found in the book of Exodus, chapter 12. A lamb is sacrificed, and Moses instructs the Israelites to take the blood of the lamb and place it on the doorposts of their homes, so that when judgment passes through the land, it passes over them. Pass over. And that act marks both protection and the beginning of their deliverance from Egypt. And then we can't forget the shofar, the ram's horn, which is also deeply symbolic. The shofar is still blown in Jewish ritual to this day, but in biblical times, it was also used in moments of war and divine intervention. In the book of Joshua, chapter 6, it was the sound of the shofar that accompanied the fall of the walls of Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. I used to teach Sunday school. And now, the pattern evolves again, from sacrifice to action, from offering to movement. And all throughout the Old Testament of the Hebrew Bible, we see divinely guided battles, anointed kings, David, who began as a shepherd boy in his youth, resembling the same agrarian figure before becoming a warrior king. And this is where Aries energy becomes fully embodied, not just in sacrifice, but in leadership, in courage, and in purpose-driven action. These are not stories of chaos, but of action aligned with something higher. The symbolism is undeniable.